Hitler was on drugs. I know. This comes off as a shock to you guys considering his amazing reputation, but the guy was absolutely a junkie. If it was available to him, he was smoking, snorting, or injecting it. And Hitler, look, he took all these drugs for a deep, dark reason. The guy had an extremely bad case of irritable bowel syndrome, which is basically extremely bad constipation. I guess this explains why the guy loves gassing people so much. Anyway, Hitler also had skin lesions, cardiac dysrhythmia, coronary arterial disease, syphilis, and more stuff. It sounded this guy was like a paper cut away from kicking the bucket. This was especially bad news for Hitler because he was supposed to be the head of the Aryan race, the perfect race that was better than everyone else and never got sick. He even took up a vegetarian diet, although this was because he was concerned about the suffering that animals faced. To keep up with his healthy image, he turned to a private doctor named Dr. Morel to help him with his physical ailments. Alright, so initially, the injections Morel gave to Hitler were super simple. They weren't even drugs, it was just a mixture of a thing called glucose and vitamins. Basically, all this meant was that Hitler took a shot for breakfast instead of wasting his time, actually eating breakfast. So he had more time for Hitler things. But as time passed and Hitler's stomach pain and constipation got worse, Dr. Morel started to give him more substances to try to fix his pain. First, it was a drug called Pervitin, which is basically just a meth tablet. This was actually a drug that was widely used by almost all German soldiers, because being on meth is actually pretty effective in combat, making its users feel more energy while needing less sleep. And along with Hitler's glucose injections, this was all Hitler was taking until he decided to invade Russia. Now, if you don't know, Hitler's decision to try invading Russia was probably the biggest blunder Hitler ever made. At least, from a military standpoint. He did some other not so great things, but anyway. And from this point in the story, Hitler's power started to fall off big time, which put him under a lot of stress and caused his constipation to become even more violent. So Dr. Morel started to add more ingredients to Hitler's injections, like hormones, steroids, and even pig liver extract, which so much for his vegetarian diet. Anyway, it was also around this time Mussolini, who was the leader of Italy and Hitler's BFF, didn't want to fight anymore and set up a meeting to give up on their pact. And this got Hitler in his feelings. I mean, not only was he getting absolutely railed by the Russians at this point, he was also losing his BFF Mussolini, and all this caused Hitler to feel very down and depressed. But that's when Dr. Morel came to Hitler's rescue. He administered a drug called Eucadol, which from my understanding is kind of like heroin except much more euphoric. Anyway, this is basically how the meeting went.
Hitler, we needed to talk. This war, it is going nowhere. Yeah, I know. Just give me eine Minuten. I need to do something. Woo! Santo cielo, Hitler! What the fuck is going on in there?
What's in the schnitzel is up, Mussolini?
I try to tell you, I want to leave the...
Nein! Fuck that pussy shit!
Alright, I took some artistic liberties there, but you get the point. Geeked up Hitler was able to, either through charisma or yapping his way through, keep Mussolini on his side. At least for now. And with this stroke of good luck, Hitler got back to work. Now, while me and Hitler don't have a whole lot in common, there is one thing me and him definitely share. Our love for coke. And that's it, Kanye. I don't support him on anything else.
Fuck you, Adi. I still made graduation and fucked Kim Kardashian. You can't even pull any girls.
Anyway, Hitler's love for coke started when he was in a committee meeting when...
You've got mail.
Oh, Hitler got a gift in a briefcase.
Bomb has been planted.
Hitler narrowly escaped this assassination attempt, and now he had ruptured eardrums on top of all his other ailments. So Morel had to find the strongest anesthetic he could for Hitler at the time, which was cocaine. Hitler was documented snorting coke 50 times. So at this point, Hitler was now addicted to Pervitin, which is a brother of meth, Eucadol, which is related to heroin, and cocaine. And on top of all this, Hitler also started to develop Parkinson's. And while there is no cure for Parkinson's, I can't imagine all these things he were taking helped. I mean, he's starting to make Juice WRLD look sober. There's even videos of him from back in 1936 tweaking. And then Hitler got the worst news he could ever hear. No more drugs. Also, his entire nation was falling apart, but mainly the drugs. See, British air offenses had bombed the factories, making many of the drugs that Hitler was now dependent on. And Hitler was starting to lose it. His tooth enamel was decaying, teeth were just straight up falling out too. His brain was all fucked up. Okay, more fucked up than it already was. Because all of these drugs he was taking was completely frying his brain. Anyway, in his last days, Hitler was pretty much already gone. He still had some drugs around for medication, but people who saw him on his last days said that he looked like he had jaundice, and it was pretty clear, even if he didn't unalive himself, he was already on the way out. So, moral of the story, guys, don't do drugs. Like and subscribe. Comment any video ideas you have, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.